Good morning. This is Sheshachalam from Astroguide Mysore. Today, let us talk about the planet Mercury for quite some time. Let us now go into the characteristics of Mercury. Mercury being very close to Sun, because it is the nearest planet to Sun. It keeps revolving around the Sun in a very fast pace. So that means wherever you take up a chart, either the Mercury will be in the 12th from the Sun, or the second from the Sun, or with the Sun itself. So it cannot go far away from that. So that's the maximum longitudinal deviation that Mercury has from Earth. So if you take Earth and if you see the degrees, you can see that Mercury is just within this number of houses from Sun. So because of the proximity to Sun, Mercury becomes the brightest planet and the hottest planet, apart from Venus, which is also the bright and the hot planet because of its gaseous and acidic content, and also because it's a bigger planet compared to Mercury. Mercury is extremely small. So the characteristics of Mercury also gives its significations, like Mercury is very fast. So the person with a strong Mercury is extremely fast in calculation, very good in mathematics, and extremely sharp, acute, and will be curious. Because of this curiosity, at a young age, you call these types of children mischievous children. So they always tend to understand things by trying to play with it, or trying to understand it more physically, because children are more physical in nature. They would not want you to explain things, they would want to go and test it out themselves. So Mercury is such a planet which is young, fresh, green. It represents all the greenery on this planet. So because of its young and freshness, we associate Mercury with the adolescent period, or the period just after Mars. That is, just after adolescence, you get the teenage. So Mercury is usually associated with the teenagers. So if Mercury in the horoscope is, let us say, not well posited, and what I mean to say not well posited is whether if it is with Rahu, that is the ascending node, or with Ketu, the descending node, or with the with Saturn. Though Saturn is the friend of Mercury, Saturn has its own characteristics of discipline. So when Saturn himself goes berserk in a chart, that is, if it goes off the road, so let us say it becomes a malefic to the chart, and Mercury gets associated with Saturn, it becomes a very bad yoga. Usually we associate Mercury with intelligence, that is the IQ. So when Mercury, that is Buddhi, sits along with Saturn, that is Manda, so we call it Buddhi Mandatva, or slow headedness, or slow intellect. And if this combination goes and falls into the sixth house, or along with the sixth lord, that is the Rogasthana Adipati, or in the Rogasthana, we call this Buddhi Manda Roga. Here, that doesn't mean that always a person with the Buddhi Manda Roga is retarded or very slow paced. We can also understand that the Buddhi Manda Roga person will have a different level of perception of this world. So every time we don't associate Buddhimanda Roga with a person who is very slow. We associate Buddhimanda Roga with a person who has a very different perception. So it's extremely difficult to explain things to him. You cannot tell clarity, cannot give clarity to this person until unless he is ready to believe it. So it will be a little slow paced for him, so that he will come up with the social values, social ethics, and all those things. So this is a knowledge. Social value is a knowledge which cannot be attained from school. So for a person who is having Buddhimanda Roga, it takes a little bit of time for him to catch up with the social values. So another one very important thing of Buddha is, whenever Buddha comes into your Buddha Dasha, that is the period of Mercury comes into your life, whatever hidden problems of health would be, for example, let us say that there would be something like a varicose vein problem, or a PCOD problem, or let us say arthritis, or let us say some infection in the lungs like a pneumonia, which may turn into pneumonia, or tuberculosis. These things can very easily get diagnosed in the period of mercury. So we usually refer mercury as the best period for a person to get rightly diagnosed, because a wrong diagnosis will again put him into continuous medication, which is repetitive and of very bad in nature, because some wrong medication will again give you other side effects in life. So a correct diagnosis can happen at the time, in the period of mercury. So mercury is also associated with many other things, like he is also buddhi karaka, that is, he is the right planet to understand whether the child will have the aptitude to study, whether the grasping power is such that the child will be able to grasp fast in this particular fast paced world. So mercury can give you a lot of information from the chart. So it's enough for today. We'll go in for mercury later in detail with the charts. I will be explaining it with charts. So thank you for today.